Welcome everybody to tonight's webinar. Today we'll do a very quick review, so do not fret if you are familiar with what we're doing. We are then going to import our image into TinkerCAD to make it a 3D model. We will then begin starting on business cards in Inkscape. So as a very quick review, we talked about having the ability to to 3D print a vector graphic by importing it into TinkerCAD after you create it. So what we did here is we chose a single trace. We do this by using our original raster graphic and retracing it by hitting Trace Bitmap with it selected and finding a trace that doing a multiple scan trace, simplifying it, of course, as we have been, and pulling the path off of our design so that we have a nice, pretty looking duck or whatever it may have been that you chose to draw. So we just want this one path. We made sure that we ungrouped it from the original image. We made sure to resize the page to our image's size. And we should have saved it. And hopefully you all know where you saved it. Gonna hope so that you can find it today. So the next step that we're gonna do, and this is where we get started for today, is we're gonna go into TinkerCAD. So I hope you all remember your TinkerCAD username and password. It's the same username and password that you used for 123D circuits. We're gonna go ahead and log in and start a new design. I will put hands down. Please raise your hand once you have gone into TinkerCAD and started a new design. Just gonna sign in. Hopefully that's my password. Create a new design. And raising our hand once we get to this point here. So now that we've gotten TinkerCAD open and ready, we're going to take a look at the right side of our screen where all the tabs are, and we're going to click to expand the Import tab. So the Import tab is going to be, the ultimate tab that we use. It's going to let us import 2D or 3D shapes. 2D will almost always be .svg, which is our vector graphics, and 3D could be .stl, which is our 3D models. .obj, which is another type of file type for 3D models. So real quick, I see a question. Can you remind me how to vectorize a graphic real quick? Alright, going back a little bit, but I'll do a very quick review here. So do you have your image already open, imported into Inkscape? So you're going to have image rendering mode as smooth, but everything else should be the default when you import it, when you hit the part where it gives you a pop-up. While you have your image selected, which I do not right now, but Inkscape likes to freeze, you're going to right-click it and click on Trace Bitmap in the menu that pops up. So right click, trace bitmap. For our sake today, just because this is a couple classes ago that I worked with this, I was going to think if I wanted you to do a single scan. It's not going to look as good, but it'll be a little bit quicker, so I think I'm going to have you do that. So let's click on single scan, brightness cutoff. This is just if you don't have a image vectorized yet. Everybody else should see if they can experimentally get the results, or experimentally import your stuff into TinkerCAD. See if you can figure it out on your own, but I'll teach you in a second. So if you don't have one, brightness cutoff and click update. And then OK. And right on top of your initial image, your single scan trace will appear. Hit Control L on your keyboard to simplify your design. Sorry it's so small. And this image here should be vectorized. Did that work for you? Yeah, no problem. If you want to import this into TinkerCAD though, what you'll have to do first is go to File and then not clean up document, that's the wrong thing, sorry. File and then Document Properties. Underneath Custom Size, click on the plus sign next to Resize Page to Content, and then Resize Page to Drawing or Selection. Now you can save it, and you should be able to import this into TinkerCAD. You might want to delete the other image that you are not vectorizing now. So back on over here into TinkerCAD. Hopefully you've got that SVG file. You'll have two options here, File and URL. URL is from a website. If you want to import a SVG file from, say, Google Images, you first want to make sure it's a .svg file. And second, make sure that you directly link to the picture. So what I mean by that is if we go to images.google.com, let's type in duck clip art, which is what I've been using. If you click on it and try to copy this URL and paste it into, and try to import it into TinkerCAD, that's not going to work. What you'll need to do, you'll need to click on your image so that this screen does pop up. Then you'll need to click View Image. And this is the URL that you could theoretically import into TinkerCAD. So note that if you do use a URL, that sometimes it just doesn't work. You'll know if it doesn't work because it'll either give you an error or it'll just look like it's loading forever and ever and ever. But you'll know pretty quick if it's not going to work. The best way to make sure that it works is to put it in as a file. Now if it doesn't work, even by saving this picture, if it doesn't work, rather, that's just not a good picture. The SVG file is not compatible with TinkerCAD, so you'll actually physically need to change it there. But I'm getting a little bit too into depth there, so I'm going to stop talking about that. What we're looking for is clicking on File, and then on Choose File. You should have saved your single trace object. So I want you to find wherever you saved it. I named mine Silhouette because it's just an outline, kinda, because it's not quite a silhouette. And you're going to click on Open. So choose File, choose your SVG file, Open, and before you know it, two more options will pop up called Scale and Height. Our height's going to be good. It's going to be 10 millimeters. That is a good height for what we're doing. It's easy to see. But we're going to want to scale our object to be 50%. By default, these things will import very, very large. If we scale it down to 50%, we can make sure that A, it imports more quickly, and B, we can make sure that we are able to see it, that TinkerCAD's able to understand it. And keep in mind, this is a .svg. It is a vector graphic, so we can resize it to any size we want without losing our resolution. So if it's too small at 50% scale, that's okay. We can always resize it. So with a scale of 50 and a height of 10 millimeters, we're going to click on Import. And sometimes something will happen that says cannot import file, failed to parse input form. I don't really know why that happened. So I'm going to give it one more try, even though I doubt that's going to happen this time around. Oh, okay, it did work. So if it gives you an error, try it one more time before you freak out. And if it still gets angry at you, try making the scale even smaller, say 20%. And after that, if it still doesn't work, it's something wrong with the file, which isn't your fault. So don't worry if something weird's going on. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes to make sure that you can get this working. Please raise your hand once you've successfully imported whatever image that you chose. And keep it raised. Ow, that hurt. Because once you've gotten it imported, you can do whatever you want to it. You can use it just like you would use any other model you make in TinkerCAD. If it's not working for some reason, please let me know. I can help you out. If you get it to work, see if you can import a .svg from a URL. See if you can do that. And honestly, if you can't, it could just be the file. Anyone want to see the process again? Keep in mind this is still a little bit buggy. And sometimes it just does not work by no fault of you. No fault of your own. We're going to raise our hand once we've gotten a successful from file SVG imported. And keep it raised, please, just so I know. Don't be afraid to ask. You're more than welcome to import more than one thing into this work plane. So it might be fun to create a scene using multiple SVG images. So I'm not seeing many hands raised. Is that just, like, please tell me if you're having trouble. That's what I'm here for. Okay, there we go. That's looking a little bit more. more what I expected. So let me double check where I am here. We already did all that. So in theory, I'm going to put your hands down now. Thank you for raising some hands. So in theory, if you really wanted to 3D print this, and you don't have a 3D printer at normal places you go, so you're not able to find one, what you could do is go to Design in the upper left-hand corner, and you could just go order a 3D print, but that costs money. Click on Download for 3D printing, and it will behoove you to click .stl here. What that'll do is download a .stl file so that you can send it to a 3D printer. So I guess that is if you have a 3D printer or access. If you don't have access, you go to Design and then order for 3D printing, and that costs money. So download for Minecraft. Oh man, I had another student that actually tried that. I know it doesn't work very well, I can tell you that, but I think that it will download it in kind of a blocky fashion so that you could, in theory, import it into Minecraft, but it's kind of broken and it looks kind of bad. I haven't tried it myself, though. Nor would I know the process to actually get it into Minecraft. So it does sound like a project. I'm almost positive that 123D has a tutorial on how to do it. But you are more than welcome to give it a try and see how it works out. And if you do that, let me know how it goes so I can inform future students how it goes. Alright. So we just took a normal raster image, made it into a URL, or sorry, I'm reading the words that I'm getting, sorry, let me start over again. We took a raster image, we converted it into a vector graphic, we took off one of the traces of this vector graphic and imported it into TinkerCAD so that we can 3D print it. You can do this for literally anything. Any image you see, anywhere on the computer, anywhere on the internet rather, you can do that too. So, could I give you the URL? I'm actually not sure what the URL is, so give me just 1 second. I'm going to pause my video to see if there's a quick how-to with the Minecraft thing. So at this point, we are done with TinkerCAD for today. We will be using Inkscape, so go ahead and open it back up if you have not opened it already. And you're saying you made an evil Pac-Man? Alright. I can respect that. That sounds really cool. Mad Pac-Man. So we're going to go back into Inkscape. Because what we'll be doing for the rest of class, and probably some next Monday, we'll be making our very own business cards. So you'll notice I did skip a couple slides here. I actually need to change the name of this because it's not called the Bevel Tool, it's called the Bezier Tool, or Bezier Tool. Well, actually I shouldn't have skipped this, sorry. We are going to be taking an outline of something to put onto our business card. So sort of like taking a cute puppy and making it just an outline using this Bezier tool here. And I don't know if we will actually get to using the tool today because we got some stuff to do before we use it. So lately, with the availability of laser cutters, a lot of people have been making business cards cut out with a laser cutter. So here's a pretty cool one here, architecture firm it looks like, really intricate design. And there's another business card here that you can just punch out pieces and build something cool out of it. So So this is literally something that you can make. We're not going to do something this in depth, but you do have the ability at this point, given what we've done in Inkscape, to create something like this. To create something that is in 2D that you can make into 3 dimensions. So between Inkscape and Mesh Mixer, this is something that you can do. So we're going to be designing our business cards in Inkscape and then cutting out the prototypes of it in our, I think it's going to be our final lab. I'm not sure when anyone else's is. I know Raleigh's has been moved back to the 30th. It's going to be down in Charlotte. I unfortunately cannot make it to this one. I'm not sure when everyone else's is, but if you don't know when your next lab session is, let me know, and I can find that out. Or you can also email Mr. D. So what we'll be doing is opening up a new image in Inkscape, and we're going to make a 3.5 inch by 2 inch box. And make sure that you keep your box selected once you make it. So if anyone needs a refresher on how to do this, we're going to go into our new document, click on the Create Rectangles and Squares option. And mine looks a little bit different because I've already played around with it some. We're just going to make a good old rectangle here, and we're going to do a couple of things. First, on the top of your screen, we're going to make sure that instead of PX in our drop-down menu, it's going to be IN. We're going to switch from pixels into inches because we want it to be business card sized, right? And I guess that 3.5 by 2 is the size of a standard business card. So we made sure we're in inches. Our width is going to be 3.5. And our height is going to be 2. Our RX is going to be 0. And our RY is going to be 0. And let me see if I did have this on my screen. You can sort of see it here. Instead of PX, we're going to be doing inches. Width is 3.5. Height is 2. Everything else is 0. Does anybody need to see that again? Where I'm looking for this stuff. So make sure that your box is still selected, y'all. Don't unselect your box for whatever reason. So we're still going to be playing with it. If you remember from a couple of weeks ago, I guess it was last week, if you remember how to change your fill color, which is in this case it's the blue color, you're going to want to change that to white. And you're changing your stroke color to be black. So the question, why does it have to be so small? The 3.5 by 2 should be the size of a standard business card. It's also the same size as a credit card. It's just something that you can fit in your wallet, and that's why it's so small. And remember, if it's small on your screen, you can always zoom in so it's a little bit bigger. In fact, you'll probably want to do that. So 3.5 width, 2 height, and we're making sure that we are in inches here, not pixels. This would be good for designing coasters for drinks. Yeah, you bet it would. That'd be an awesome application of this, for sure. So 3.5 by 2 inches. We're making sure our fill is white and our stroke is black. So again, when you have your object selected, if you click on fill in the bottom right hand corner, can't really see it here because, or I guess you can sort of see it. Your fill all the way to the right for RGB, it's going to be white. For stroke paint, all the way to the left for RGB. And what I haven't told you yet is for stroke style, you want to make your width 2 pixels. 2 pixels or 0.022 inches. I'm not a big fan of how they have both inches and pixels on here. It gets a little bit confusing, to be honest. So put your width as 2 pixels. When you do that, you'll see that your height and width will change into pixels temporarily, and that's okay, because it corresponds 3.5 inches into pixels, in this case 64.714. Or I guess it's not 64, it's well, I guess it is. Oh, that's just a location, sorry. Width 317, height 182. There we go. Making sure our width is 2 pixels. I guess it could have no fill, but I just chose white because I'm assuming you're going to be doing it on a white piece of paper. Or I guess you're going to be doing it on a laser cutter, so. So question is, how do you do width? Are you referring to the width of your outline? And good point, Mateo, and I'll get to that in just a second, actually. All right, so to do the outline width, it's going to be under the Stroke Style tab. So you did your fill, which I'll actually change right now to no fill, just to, hopefully it'll work. You got Stroke Paint, which will do your outline color. Stroke Style, the very top option, will be your width. And of course, it's going to freeze on me again, because it hates me. I'm not even going to bother trying to do no fill now. Alright. So Mateo brought up a good point in rounding the edges of your business card. We round the edges because it protects the integrity of the card, because the edges do tend to sort of mess up pretty easily. So what we're going to be doing to round our edges, we're going to go back up here to our coordinates. I found it work better for me if I changed it back into inches. And I guess it changed the exact height and width because of the conversion. Ooh! I just deleted it. So width and height. And where did my RY go? Does it need to be in pixels? Life does need a Control Z. Most definitely. I agree with you there. I really wish that this wouldn't consistently mess up on me. This software just does not like being on with the webinar. Well, I'm just going to really, really hope that you can see this on your screen. Next to your width and height, there should be two boxes that say RX and RY. And remember, hang on, I'm getting a question. The width is supposed to be 2 millimeters. No, the width of your outline is supposed to be 2 pixels. But, no problem. So at the top of your screen, you should have RX and RY. It should be right next to your coordinates. You'll want to change your RY to be 16 pixels. Or 0.178 inches, whichever one works better for you. 16 pixels or 0.178 inches. Let's see if this wants to work for me now. See if it works better in inches. Oh, of course not. Why would it work? Ha ha ha. Oh, darn you, frozen screen. You are not being nice. I don't like you right now. If you do this successfully, which Inkscape is not being happy with me and letting me do this, you'll have something very similar to this just round box here. Yeah, I know. Frozen screen to death. You're right. Yeah, Inkscape is just really not a fan of working at the same time as webinar. Because I always try everything out before I teach it to make sure if there's any quirks. Works just fine. No. Not when I'm actually here working with it. Any questions at this point so far? On sizes, or where to find stuff, or anything of the sort? Alright, definitely stop me if you do need something. What was that R thing that we were talking about? Alright, good question. At the top of your screen next to your coordinates, There should be two boxes named RX and RY. It should be the two rightmost ones before you click on inches or pixels or whatever. You only have X and Y. And that's what's going on with mine too, and I think that's just a limitation of if you're going into inches or into pixels. But as you see on mine, it's not changing to inches or pixels. Is anyone else having this issue where you don't see RX, RY, only X and Y? Because I did not have this issue earlier, so I'm not sure what's happening with it. Let's see here if I can find... No, it's not that. I know for a fact we can always play with it later if I can't figure it out right now. Because it'll be a-okay just keeping it square like that. So I'm going to have you just keep it square like that, because I also will be doing square like this. And let me get back to you on how to replace your X and Y with RX and RY. So you'll be okay with just this for now. So what we're going to do now, we're just going to add some text. So hopefully you're going to add your name and maybe a phone number or your email address, but you're allowed to pick whichever one you want in terms of font, in terms of preferably not your bank account number, nothing that will make you become a theft of, or a victim of identity theft. Don't change your font color because it's not going to make a difference when you laser cut it. Not social security number. Not your home alarm code. I'll go ahead and do this too, I might as well. Maybe a job title if you want to pretend you have a job or something. Unless you have a job, you might. You bet your dad would have loved this. And remember, you can always show him later on. So you have to leave. Thanks for class. Have a great week. Alright, Caleb, I'll see you next Monday. And if it's not centered yet, don't worry, we'll fix that in a second. I don't know how to spell extraordinaire, so... it'll be a-okay. Probably should have made that smaller. But oh wait, it's frozen again, what do you know? Oh, this stuff just hates me. So we do want to center it. So to center everything, make sure that you've got everything selected. So to select everything, we're just going to make a big old box around everything we've got. We can tell it's selected by all the arrows coming out of it. We're going to click on Object, and then click on the second from the bottom, which is Align and Distribute. And underneath the Align tool, and that worked once, and the other one's not seeming to work. We're going to click on you'll see a bunch of bar graphs. The third from the left on the top row, and the third from the left on the bottom row. Oh my goodness. And despite my furious clicking, it's still not working. Alright, take care, Wyatt. Good job being on time today. Alright, and for those of you heading out, if you do it right, you'll be at a very basic place with your name and everything. It should be all centered and good. So that is all for today. So I appreciate you coming out, and I'm going to be here until 7 for questions. I know it's a little bit early, but it seems like some folks got to go, so I apologize for there being so many issues with my version of Inkscape. It's just sort of nature of the beast when I'm using the webinar software at the same time. But if you need any further explanation, I'm here. Good question, how do you change the font? Oh my goodness. When you have the, excuse me. I'm going to throw this computer out the window. When you have this text tool selected, at the top of your screen there should be a drop down with font size and color, all that sort of jazz. And I would love to show you. Hang on, let me see. Alright, see, I've got it selected. Top left of your screen, it should say by default sans serif. You can change it to anything you want. Why didn't it work that time? I don't know. The world may never know. And to those of you that are still here, Over the next couple days, I want you to think about an image that you would like to have in the background of your design, of your business card. And I'm going to do some research on how to get the RX and the RY so we can round the edges there. Because I'm not sure why the RX and RY go away. So with that, I'm going to end class for the day. So thank you all for coming out. And I will see you next week.